Okay, so we have to talk about D.C. Long, another of Stephen Greer's witnesses at his big UFO summit that he had the other day. And he has some really interesting testimony showcasing that the military, the control group, has power, they have access to technology that can levitate massive objects. And if you refuse to sign an NDA with them, they will destroy your life. This is really interesting and alarming testimony from DC Long. So let's talk about it. Get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Yes, although I'm leaving on my retreat today, I wanted to give you this video before I left. And I'll probably put another one out to pre-schedule it for tomorrow so that, you have some Cosmic Road to look forward to on your weekend. Say what you will about Dr. Stephen Greer, and I know I've said some stuff, but he assembled a line of really intriguing witnesses. I've already made videos about two of them, and now it comes to DC Long, who is he's with the Army. His dad is a military contractor, and he's very successful. And they are going to this destination to do some contracting work, and they see something they should not have seen, and it destroys their life. So let him take it from here.
I overheard that the place we're going to be going is Range 19. I'd never heard of this place before, hadn't since. They put us in a van, no windows, no partition to the front. So we were joking, what did you say? Because we're taking you to Leavenworth. We show up at Range 19. The only thing that was directly in front of me looked like a bunker, 45 degree inches from a concrete bunker, covered in trash. Looked like an actual dump. We open up. There's another escort, and they're waiting on us. They take us to a freight elevator. We take the elevator down. At that time, we were instructed, keep your heads down, keep your eyes on the heels of the men in front of you, or you'll be fired upon. I've heard plenty of instances of military jargon. People like to jibe each other. I didn't take it as a joke, but I knew enough to just do what he told me to. I didn't want to risk it. As soon as the freight elevator opened, the first thing that I could see were a few personnel connexes to the right in a large hangar, maybe twice, three times the size of the area that we're in now. There was a monolithic slab directly in front of me that was being held up by nothing. The closer that I got to this slab, I felt an intense vibration inside of my body. I never felt anything like that before in my life, never anything since, but it left no sound. The loudest thing in that room was the silence and the footfalls of the people in front of and behind me. As I got closer, my natural southern curiosity took over. Oh, my shoes are untied. So I go down just to take a peek. And there's absolutely nothing up underneath this monolithic slab that if I had to estimate would be well over 100 tons. Absolutely nothing holding it up. You can see by the picture, there's another boulder directly behind it. It was flat on the ground. There were two other people beside it. I could only see heels and feet. To the right, you could see what looked like a boulder. And all three of these that I could tell had this box on top that was black with spires that came off, and I couldn't tell where it was connected, but it obviously had something to do with the levitation. The one to the right was being spun by the personnel that you could see in the picture. At this point, from my knees, the escort needed me in the back, said, let's go. We follow on, go downstairs to our appointed place to take measurements for an underground fire facility for a live fire range. Excuse me. When it was all said and done, less than 15, 20 minutes later, we make our way back to the surface through the same hangar that we had noticed the monolithic slabs and the boulders. And there was absolutely nothing there. There was no noise for anyone taking anything out. It was one flight down to our appointed place, but you could still hear that there was nothing going on in the facility that we were in. We make our way out. We get back in the van, and they take us back to 18th Airborne Headquarters so we can retrieve our telephones, our IDs. Something was said to my father, and they retrieved all of the notes that were taken, everything that he had that he recorded from whenever we were downstairs, they took it from him. I didn't think much of it. I go back upstairs, help him wrap up in the G5 war room. And it was at that time there was a gentleman sitting at the desk. Everyone was cleared out. And he had 2 pieces of paper. Said, I need you to sign this NDA. Absolutely not. You know, we didn't so much take it as a joke, but we just didn't feel like the things that we had witnessed, although I did realize it was something that I never should have seen in my life. We weren't going to sign. Didn't think anything of it. I leave. I get a call the next day, less than 24 hours later. Hey man, you need to come down. We're trying to go to work and everything's locked up. Everything's gone. Everything that my father had worked for, from the time that I was a child until I became a man, became a soldier, and the company that had my name on it, everything was seized. Absolutely everything was seized. The pencils that he would use to make bid submittals to the Army Corps of Engineers was even taken because it contributed from the business. Everything was taken. I can't illustrate that point enough. My father went from being a very humble millionaire to absolutely broke, bankrupt, and destitute in 24 hours.
He goes on in detail to describe how the events that followed destroyed his life, destroyed his father's company and his career, sent his father on a downward spiral, sent DC along on a downward spiral, separated them, and there was some other stuff going on as well. The father ended up dying, very, very, very sick. And at that point, DC Long had reduced in weight to, I think he said, like 130 pounds. And that's a big guy. So he was going through some real stuff. And it was only after his father's death that he was able to recover. And he talks about all of this with great emotion and feeling, and it's clear that he's on the level. So what do we take away from this story? Well, that the control group has technology, the likes of which, humanity may not have seen since the construction of the pyramids, where they were able to, assemble, this pile of massive blocks into a pyramid. Something that should not have been possible in the amount of time that we are told that the pyramid was built in. I think it was like 20 years, the Great Pyramid. And in order for that to have happened in the course of one pharaoh's lifetime, I think that it has been estimated that one block had to have been set every 5 minutes. And some of these are massive blocks. And we're talking over 2 million blocks that, composed the Great Pyramid. And the other pyramids were quite impressive as well. And I've made some videos about the construction of the pyramids and on remote viewing the construction of the pyramids and information that we can get from more esoteric sources about how those buildings were created. I lean toward the theory that the pyramids were created by the survivors of Atlantis, or at least some people that learned from them, aided and assisted and possibly directed by beings. I know that might be too out there for some of you guys, and I totally get it, but it makes sense if the ETs are real, and they are. They probably didn't just get here. They've probably been here for a long time, and they have had a hand in the direction of humanity. And it seems like from my own research that there were pre-existing civilizations before our current era. We're talking high levels of civilizations. And they were able to do fabulous things like constructing the pyramids. And they didn't do it alone. But this video isn't about the construction of the pyramids or Atlantis, and I know that that may be one of my favorite subjects, but that's not the subject of this video. The point is that we seem to have rediscovered this technology, or again, that we have been given this technology by somebody. The control group has this stuff. They seem to also have UFOs or UFO-like vehicles. they've had since at least the 60s, if not the 50s. God knows what they're doing with these things. They're not seeming to use them in war. Otherwise, we wouldn't have lost Vietnam. There wouldn't be conflicts going on in the world that we couldn't address. What are they using these vehicles for? Well, I believe that the evidence clearly indicates that the control group is working with the beings, and the beings have a vast project underway, and that is the abduction phenomenon. Now, some people think that that is a very positive phenomenon, and some don't. I think there's some good ones and some bad ones, and some beings do it for different reasons. That's what I've seen, but until we get some transparency on this from the phenomenon itself, we're probably not going to have all the answers we want on that. But it seems logical to me that the control group has been gifted and helped along with some technology, like the flying the ships, so that they can then assist the beings in their projects here on Earth. I'm sure the control group gets something out of it as well. Vast power and money and fabulous technologies like this levitating device. What are they using with this fabulous technology other than working with the beings? What are they getting out of it? Well, Richard Dolan, one of my favorite UFO researchers, calls the control group the Breakaway civilization because they do have such fabulous technologies and they are so vast and robust that they really have divorced themselves from the mainstream culture. I'm probably not saying that very well, but they are their own isolated breakaway civilization, and that really does seem to be the case. And this gives us an idea of what sort of technologies they do have at their disposal. And DC Long's story also highlights very tragically the great lengths to which they will do to keep this secret, and if you go against them, they will destroy you, as they did DC Long's father, the company, and DC's own life up to a certain point. Of course, getting back to Greer, I do have to point out that he is only bringing out witnesses that illustrate his own narrative and his own agenda, which is, military bad, aliens good. All of the witnesses seem to serve to showcase that the military and the control group are nefarious. And, the control group definitely has some nefarious aspects to it. In fact, it may be pretty nefarious. I do leave out the possibility that they have some sort of justification for what they are doing. Is it possible that all their terrible things they've done have been in service to some greater end that is actually of benefit to humanity? Well, we won't know until there is transparency. But right now, it looks pretty darn nefarious. However, that's where Greer's narrative falls apart, because from the research I've done, and some of which I've shared with you, and I'm sure you have probably done your own research, it really looks like the control group is working with the beings, either now, currently, or in the past. And so Greer's narrative of the control group bad and the beings good doesn't really make much sense if they're working together, and of course they are, or at least they have been, or at least some subset of the beings. Because again, the phenomenon is not monolithic. There's a lot of different aspects to it, a lot of different races and elements and agendas, and even, individuals of one race might differ from other individuals of the same race. It's very complicated, and I'm just sharing with you what I have learned from my own research, and I would love it if you would share with me and others the results of your own research and your own thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this story, what it means, and if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and the bell to be notified of future videos. Join me on social media. I would love to see you guys there. Please consider supporting the channel by leaving a super chat, a PayPal, or simply buying one of my books. I'm a science fiction fantasy writer, and you might enjoy my books. If not, just consider it a donation. A Kindle book is only like $3 or $4. So think about it, and I will see you next time. There's plenty of other videos to check out on the channel. And until then, this is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.